Sherry, how are you?
Great.
Great, Jim. Good to see you.
So good to see you guys too. I always reflect back on our time directing at the same time in the 80s and think, man, those are special days. So many great things that we were a part of, and it's great to spend some time with you guys. Talk a little bit about your Continental experience and maybe how it shows up in what you do today.
Well, it shows up in nearly every way possible, and that's not just a line. That's true. I kind of outlined here three things, Jim, that I think really are significant to us. First of all, just the inspiration to be involved with global evangelism. That was our first opportunity and to do anything like that where we were in charge. Sherry had been to Malaysia and Singapore during college years. But just to have those doors open to us through Continentals was literally, it's the trite phrase to some, but literally a life-changing experience.
Wow.
Definitely. The fact that we're here today in 2023 talking about something that we did in the 80s, 70s. Oh, goodness. I mean, it's just amazing how much it has directed and led our life.
And of course, we're sitting here in my office. I'm privileged to serve as the president of International Commission.
Yeah, talk about that.
Global ministry that has been around for 50 years. Started not too long before we got into Continentals. It's all about sharing the gospel around the world one-on-one. We use a model called Operation Andrew, which is how the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association paid for all of his crusades through those years. And we stop at the point of preaching in stadiums and all like he did. Our crusade, if you want to call it that to make the equivalent, is in homes of people around the world. Our teams go and they share the gospel in prepared meetings, and people are prepared to hear the gospel because the folks in their community have been praying for them for 6 months to a year, very specifically by name. And that, again, is very similar to what the Graham organization did to get churches to bring people to all of those times where he was preaching the gospel. So that's obviously, Jim, it's a direct connection. I'll tell you even a couple of funny things, coincidental things that connect with being here. When I was being interviewed, it was by a consultant that IC had, and we got to talking, and he came back after a minute and said, no, wait a minute. What did you say about the influence of Continental singers? You said something about a trip to Hungary in 1981. I said, yeah, Continental Singers and Orchestra. Are you familiar with them? Well, yeah, a little bit. And I said, why? He said, well, I was actually, did you guys happen to rehearse at the Campus Crusade headquarters? I said, yes. He said, well, I was actually a college student on staff with Campus Crusade during those summers. And so I went, wow, that's unbelievable.
And guess what the address is on the street where the name of the street where we're sitting right now?
What?
Continental Drive.
Yeah.
Now, was
It's
that
everywhere.
Yes.
It's like, what? So it was.
Yeah,
That's
it's
funny.
just everywhere. And really, Jim, the other two influences that I think we can speak to and talk about with you is one is just excellence. Excellence is a goal in ministry, not for the sake of showmanship or showiness, if you want to coin a word there, but just it's right and it's proper. We say it all the time, all of us do in our churches, but to give God the greatest and best gift that we possibly can.
Yeah.
Learned a lot of things about excellence in Continental. Sherry had a little funny thing we were talking about.
One of the things, we did youth choir trips ourselves as later on in years, and then you go places and you're a guest at somebody's performance. I'm always looking to see how the tape is laid. Did they get it straight? Are people going to trip over the extension cords?
Yeah.
That was an important thing of, taking care and being careful. I was never on the taping committee, but boy, I knew what it was supposed to look like.
Right. Yeah, that attention to small details was a big thing.
And we do events here for our ministry that are, to introduce people and to the ministry and fundraising events and all of that. And I'm sorry, but I'm pretty on spot with our tech team of, okay, the cord's got to be laid just exactly this way. We got to tape it down. So as strange as that is, that's just an evidence of really saying we've got to do the right thing and do it and bring excellence into the program, however it may.
One of my jobs for the 50th anniversary is organizing housing. And I know exactly what questions to ask for the house,
I'll bet
for
you do.
housing.
I'll bet you do.
Fortunately, we don't have to ask the people to provide a ham and cheese sandwich, but
No.
we won't go there.
Yeah. It's so funny. Everybody always complained about like a pimento cheese sandwich. I never got one. In all those years of touring, I never had one. I don't know how that worked. But
Wow.
And then the last thing I would say, and I think this is, I've heard this through so many people with Continentals through the years, is just nothing's too hard. And it really, really helps now. This organization is in 189 countries now. And we're seeing the ministry grow through the people through the years, not taking American teams, but doing the ministry themselves in their nations. And now, of course, a lot of nations that are on the World Watch list are part of that 189.
right.
And just that thing that was instilled in us of, okay, if we can do this as the mature married couple and at the ripe old age of 24 or 25 or 26, then we can do it as a ministry. We can do it in our own lives. So those are just some of the life lessons, I think.
Wow. Before you started directing tours, you had done how many tours and with who?
Before I started directing Continental tours,
Yeah. Who did-
just one with Jim Chaffee.
With Jim
I was
Chaffee.
Jim's associate. It was, as many in the Continental world know, it was eventually the author of a lot of the rules that came out in the director's manual the next year, that particular tour. Not because of Jim, but because we just had some of the world's most interesting people.
Interesting situations.
But Jim is still a lifelong dear friend, as Jim, as you alluded to earlier, just being on the staff for a while with Continentals. They're family. I mean, you guys are family to us. And there's just that extra warm sense of this is a relationship that we had with people unlike any other. And it's part of our life for good.
True. You talked about excellence. As you look back kind of over the landscape of your whole Continental experience, are there any other principles that really stick with you, or anything that maybe you got from Cam in particular?
Well, I think one of them goes along with kind of what I've said is you may have challenges everywhere. It may be, heat. It might be equipment or availability of things or whatever it may be. I think, again, that caused me I spent many years in music ministry as a worship pastor, to say, all right, we may not have materially all we think we need, but try it. Just true. God will provide what we do need. And what we don't need is something that would be frivolous anyway. I think that's something that a lot of people miss out on because they're constantly saying, oh, I want to go to the next bigger church or the next bigger business or the next bigger job or whatever. I didn't see this job coming at all. And yet it's the absolute culmination and marriage of all of those things, beginning with the Continental experience. And I think asking what you asked was, what did Continentals and Cam give to me? It was opportunity to grow in some areas that God knew I was going to need. And that's still really meaningful to me.
I think I also learned that everyone deserves your best.
Mm-hmm.
There's some nights, because you were with different people in a host home or different, you didn't get a night where you said, okay, I talked to those people last night, but tonight I'm just, I don't want to.
I'm taking it off.
You had to give that host family and that church your very best when you got in there. And so everyone, obviously God deserves your best, but the people that you encounter deserve your best when you are with them.
Have you ever wished you could gift your life-changing Continental experience to someone else? Well, you can. Your monthly giving can make a huge impact for our teams all over the world. Did you know that this year, we'll have more than 20 Continental groups on the road, communicating in 7 different languages? The Continental story goes on, so keep writing your part of it by being on our support team. And our groups will say, thank you, in 7 different languages.